and welcome to another show of the Wednesday Warm Up. I am your host Lee, and I'm just so excited for the topic again today. We are still in the month of May. I was going to say the month of love. Ooh. I was just thinking
Already.
Valentine's Day. I'm not too sure what is Clate's showing there. Also, we have a buzz on the mics. But you know what?
just went away right now.
It's cool. It's cool. Let me just check. Okay, so the producer's getting a little bit. Is the cam not on? It's frozen. You know
What a way to
but
start
it's
the
okay.
show.
You know what? What a way to start the show. So we will let it go. Let it go. Hey. Come on now,
Real
Mr.
Row coming
Roadie
through
Road.
with the,
You
with
can
the
see-
baritone.
Hey.
You can see Real Row got big kids.
Let it flow.
Let it flow.
We talking about Frozen. You killed it, Mr. Rowe. But anyway,
Go. I said, no, let just
Let
let it flow. There we
Good
go.
one,
There we
good
go,
one.
Mr. Rowe. I see the vision. I see the vision.
We see
Okay.
you.
So let's do this again, right? Start over and 3, 2, 1. Okay, Jess, you'll do the clap action, then I'll go.
Okay. 3, 2.
Good morning, and welcome to the Wednesday warm-up. I am your host, Lee, this morning, and I am joined by my trusty sidekicks. First
on.
and foremost, let's give it over to the co-host, the one and only, the Mr. Miller. Yellow!
Top of the morning to you, Leandra. Oh
Hey,
man, this
man.
is such an awesome show. You know,
It
we just have the
is.
freedom to do whatever we want. You know, speak about not whatever we want, but
Yeah.
we share insights of the people, what the people want to know.
Yeah.
And this morning we're just having an awesome time in
We are.
studio. So I'm super excited. Thank you to everyone that is joining us this morning. Top of the morning, top of the afternoon, and top of the evening for wherever you are joining around the world. It is going, like Lee said, man, it's still the month of May, and we're covering Tobacco Awareness Month. So it's smoking up in here.
They're smoking! And then we've got Mr. Was Cooking Good Looking. Jezzo, how you doing?
Oh, you know what, girl? I'm doing very, very well, eh?
Oh, what new voice is this?
I just love your voice, bro. Coming through with the new voice of this beautiful
you gotta
Wednesday.
switch it up now and then.
You've got to, you've
to
got
switch it
to.
up.
Confuse the enemy.
Confuse the enemy. The devil tried to take me down, but he don't know this.
Come on. Wow.
He's
Awesome.
gonna say,
Camel.
but I thought I was attacking Jesse.
But you don't know. It ain't Jesse.
Jezzo 2.0.
Jezzo 2.0 in the building.
Yeah, but
No,
I'm all
it's cool.
good, all good.
So-
Good morning to the viewers as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show with us. Like
Mm.
Mr. Miller said, a smoking show.
Yeah.
Yes. And Mr. Miller was so on point this morning because he's like, finally, we got the color coordinations working.
Yeah. Come on.
Right, so we color
through
coordinating.
with
I
the
just want to
drip.
say, Mr. Miller is coming through with the drip.
Come
That
on,
I didn't
come on.
think that
Checking.
color combination could
Good
work, but
yeah.
it's working.
A
Jay, can you?
pinkish
Yeah,
with
can
a
you just?
blackish
Can you
and-
just come bring the cam over and
Just-
show
or
us
just go
here?
stand
Yeah,
by
just
the
go
cam,
stand there, Mr.
seeing
Miller.
that this
Don't
cam-
take your headsets with like how I sometimes do.
Yeah, photo shoot.
Hello,
Hey.
hello,
Check
come
it.
through with.
Hey.
We've got them all. Hey. Yo, we've got them all here. We've got
Come on.
models. We've got hey man, liquor Jay.
Awesome.
But you're looking good, Mr.
Thank you
Miller.
so much. Thank you
know
so
what?
much.
You a man of style. You always
Yeah.
look good. So
Thank
congrats,
you. Oh,
congrats to
yes.
you,
Good.
right?
Thanks, man.
But today we are
Oh,
all
yeah,
matching, and we've also
I just got my tracksuit on. You know.
Jess is built for comfort. Hey?
No, I
He's
am.
built for comfort.
I wake up and I look at the clothes and I'm like, tracksuit again. Here we go.
just in case you have to run.
Let's not forget Jesse. Like his first love is football.
Football.
So
He's a sport.
he looks
He's a
like a
sporty.
coach, like a player. You know. So it's okay. We with you, bro. We with you.
I like the way he says coach first. Start with player. Come on. Now, coaches look-
And then we have our anchor here, the Anchor van
Van
Maysiel.
Oh, yeah.
We've got
the
For those of you who do not know the reference, we are referencing sing
Anker van my siel.
Eers My Huil. It's on the Crystal Church album. You must go and look, Crystal Choir,
Yeah.
on Apple. We're
Music.
putting you out there, Apple Music. Mr. Rowe, how you doing this morning?
Come on.
Very real. Very real.
Very real. Oh yes, we
I'm
gave
trying
you a
to
new
figure-
name. We
Yes,
gave you a
you-
new. What is it? Rowdy
Real
Real.
Rowe.
Real
Real
Rowe.
Rowe.
Real
Real
Rowe.
Real.
Very
Real
real.
Rowe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Rowdy
I was
Real.
trying to think now, what camouflage voice can I now put up,
To
Come, let's
confuse
hear.
the enemy.
Let's hear what you got.
Confuse
Come
Come
on,
on.
I know you've
come
got
on.
something, Mr. Rowe.
Yeah.
Yay! Come on, pull
Good
it
morning, everybody. It's good to be on the show this morning.
Is that Mr. Rose Guai voice?
Smoking up in here. I told you guys this morning. It's gonna
No,
be
one
smoking.
thing I can't camo is my laugh. I can't.
No, that's what we hear it in your office. You can't.
You can't, eh? We hear Mr. Rowe from a mile away. But we've
Yeah.
also got somebody else in studio.
Yeah.
We've got, his name is Jay Paris, the friendly ghost.
Jipepe!
Behind the scenes.
The mic. Put the ghost on. Oh, the mic.
Hey,
It sluts
mic
the.
is buzzing.
But how you doing, Jay?
No.
Not yet.
We're not so dope.
We ain't dope. Not yet, bro.
No, we're not about dope today, Jay. We're talking about cigarettes.
We'll get to the
No
dope
doping.
episode.
Are we good? Can we hear you, Jay?
1, 2, what's happening?
Okay,
Nah.
the friendly ghost. We hear you confuse the enemy with the buzz on the mic. But we'll fix it. We'll get it sorted.
get there.
We'll get there, right?
Eventually.
We can still hear Jay's voice though.
In studio,
That's why
yeah.
he's the friendly ghost on the Wednesday
If you
warm up.
can't hear me, it's alright. We'll just put
We'll
subtitles at
repeat.
the
We'll
bottom.
repeat. But you are tuned into the Wednesday warm up, and we had an excellent start to the morning. We hope that you, and if you missed it, you missed it. You know,
Dololo.
what does Ricky Real say? Your mistake is your mistake.
Mistake is your mistake.
But it's
Just
fine.
love
You
that
can
guy.
rewatch it. Okay, we need to get him on the show, guys. What do you
We
say?
have
Actually, we can.
We have
We
to.
can.
can.
Okay, cool. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen. But this morning we're going to be speaking about the state of smoking in South Africa. We are still in the month of May, which is Anti-Tobacco Awareness Month. And we are talking, last week we spoke about hookahs and vaping and the culture around that. Today we're going to be focusing on cigarette smoking and the trends in that. That's the reason why we've got our anchor here, Mr. Rowdy Rowe, who will be explaining that. But before we get into that, we'd like to go into a segment here on the Wednesday warm-up that we like to call Breaking News. And Mr. Miller, over
Thank
to
you so much. COVID-19 hospitalizations in SA increase by 17% as death toll climbs by 102. So basically what we see here is that the COVID-19 infections are increasing, which potentially means that South Africa may be going soon into lockdown,
Yo.
which is not good for South Africa, neither for everyone, for all of the citizens. Second topic on the breaking news this morning: Drake accepts Artist of the Decade award with son Adonis at the 2021 Billboard Music Awards. Shout out to you, Drake, man. This guy's been phenomenal across the decade, and hence he has won this beautiful award from Billboard. So shout out to you, Drizzy Drake. Hopefully we can get you on the show sometime. You know, You never know.
Yeah. No, definitely. I heard this on Monday. Jay spoke about it actually on the morning shake. He was so excited, obviously. So
Okay, to my third topic. I just want to give a shout out to the Patriotic Alliance. If you guys do not know, Gayton McKenzie was on Newsroom 2 days ago, and he's been trending on Twitter. What the man spoke about was just brilliant. From point A to point Z, what he spoke about was amazing, and hence he has been trending on social media ever since, because of basically what the Patriotic Alliance stand for, all of the things that they will change when they do get an opportunity to take over the government. And basically, we're just looking forward to what the Patriotic Alliance can bring, the change that it can bring,
Yeah.
because ons baie nie.
hey man, wie het jou pa jy sien?
Hey!
And I just want to
Eyes on me.
I just want to put my last topic on the breaking news actually is that Manchester United will be playing the final to the Europa tonight. So please do tune in and watch Manchester United win
Why
the
do
Europa
I
League
feel
final.
like this is a biased input here?
They got
I
upgraded
just had
from
to.
Thursday night football to Wednesday night football. That's why I had to mention
Oh,
it.
I see.
Yeah, I just
I
had to
see.
put it out
I know
there.
Mr. Rowe wants to comment on this.
No, he
oh,
has
he's
no-
out.
he's
out.
Arsenal.
Okay.
I'm too scared to say
Okay,
something because,
okay.
you know, I've been getting the heat since Sunday.
You can't say anything. You must just keep quiet.
They in PSL now.
Shoot.
So
There it comes.
Okay, but we're talking about smoke here, guys. We on cigarettes and guys in Goeta, so we're not talking about Manchester, Arsenal, and the
gonna
works.
bring
And the
the
works.
smoke tonight.
Arsenal is basically like smoking because they're burning.
Yo.
You see? I said I'm not going to say anything.
yo, let it burn.
And then Libby goes and just puts on more fire there.
Gotta let it burn.
You see? Now I need a guy.
Oh, it's so awesome this morning.
Okay,
on the
cool.
show.
So let's get into the topic. We don't have much time and we want to cover as much as we possibly can. We've got Nathan Gertz on the line that says being in a final is not for everyone.
Come on,
Some
so good.
shade there
So
from
good, Nathan. Thank you,
Nathan,
broski.
really?
Yo. No, thank you, Nathan, for that. Thank you. Nathan is adding fuel to this fire. He relit the guy. The guy was out. We put it out and he came to come relight
Never
it.
mind being in a final, just being in a Champions League.
I guess that's what the people want. We must not turn our show into a
Are you
sports
even
show,
in
guys.
Europa? Just make Europa.
Not even you.
Here we go. Yes, Jay. Jay wants to say something.
I just gotta let you know something, Nathan. The last time you all won a cup was when BlackBerry had that BIS.
Yo.
I'm not going to say anything. Liverpool.
You
I'm
saw
not
we
gonna
gonna
say
play.
anything.
You saw we, bro. God is on our team. Bro.
And God is not on my team.
Devils,
Come on.
devils. Bro, does God associate himself with devils?
Wow.
You'll never walk alone. You'll walk with the Holy Spirit.
Bro.
Bless up. You can go on.
Thank you, Jay. Okay, clearly we need to change this show into a sports show, but you will get that on a Friday, people, with In the Fields with the Young.
Save your comments for Friday.
Save your comments for Friday. So we're just going to do a quick recap. Last week we spoke about hookah culture, right? And if you didn't catch that, go and catch it. Okay, it's still on the show. It's on the channel. It's there. You can catch it. So I'm going to give over to Mr. Rowe at this point in time. But before we do that, I'm going to go over to I'm going to just throw it out to the gentlemen here to give their thoughts on the whole hookah thing. Did you guys get any? I must say that I got some good feedback, and so did you, Mr. Rowe. You were telling me I got some good feedback on last week's show, so I want to say thank you to everybody. Most people actually WhatsApped me, and I was saying, are people shy to put the comment down there, eh? Because you are. No, I'm joking. No judgment.
We still love you.
But thank you to those people who gave positive feedback on the show. And for you guys, how was it after the show? Anything new that you learned?
Well, there was quite a few things that we took away as to what exactly is happening in the hookah. Because what we exposed to in the community, it's just like, okay, someone is smoking Oka pipe. We call it Oka pipe.
Yeah.
We just know someone smoking Oka pipe and you see a lot of people doing it, but you don't know what's happening on the back end of things. So
Yes.
like at the extent at which it's happening. So the numbers alone, it was super alarming. And also like a few people came to me and they were saying, listen, man, the show that you guys had was really insightful.
Yeah.
And one person actually decided to stop smoking.
Wow. Congratulations
And
to
they,
you.
and they,
Congratulations
they made
to
that
you.
decision from they were like, you know what, I watched the show and,
Yes.
and I'm going to stop with Oka pipe.
Well,
I'm
kudos
gonna stop.
to you, because I
Shout
know
out-
that it's
shout
not
out to
just
you, broski.
an
I
easy
know
thing
you're
to
watching.
do, but congratulations to you, and we wish you everything of the best with your journey, because for the sake of your health and for the sake of your well-being and your longevity, it's
Yeah.
very important. Also for the sake of your spirituality, you know, here we do not hold anything back. We speak about spirituality, we speak about social issues, mental issues, emotional issues,
Everything.
physical issues, and all of those things. So congratulations to you. Jess, on your side, anything new that you learned inside?
Nah, I learned a lot on that show.
Yeah.
After the show, didn't really get feedback from anyone. Just being real.
Yeah.
Didn't really get feedback from anyone. But myself, I learned a lot because you just like Eldrin said, you see people doing it, but you don't really think about, okay, there is nicotine in here, there is that in your, what was it, the neuros and all that play a
pathways.
part in it, and
Yeah.
you don't think that far to say, yo, so I can actually get addicted to this
Yes,
thing.
yes.
You just look at it as social. And yeah, I learned
good.
a lot, yeah.
So
that
true.
was it.
And I think that we've got Reverend Calvin Sauls on the line because he says here, man, you all the way.
Come
man,
on,
you all
Reverend
the
Calvin.
way."
Shout out to you.
That was our
Really?
guest. That was our guest on last
I'm
week's
gonna
show, so we
block
want
you,
to give a
Reverend
shout
Sauls,
out.
please. You need to get your comments right.
And for you, Mr. Rowe, anything new that you learned from us? Because I know that you guys have been working on this in
Yes.
your
Wow, I enjoyed the interaction and you know what? It was good to actually talk, not only just be academic about it, but to listen and to hear what is happening out there, down on the floor, if I can say it, or in the street, if I
Yeah.
can say that.
Yes.
Shout out to Reverend Sauls who's watching,
Carol.
Carol Magruder. They enjoyed the show. They enjoyed the vibe. Those are our partners who's partnering with Crystal Church at Amplify. And
So
really, it's so good. It was good to have them on the show. And really, they brought there a lot of insights as
Definitely.
well. Just to recap.
Yeah.
Remember the question was, is Hubbly Bubbly less harmful than cigarettes? And I think what the show highlighted was that, you know what, it is actually more harmful.
Sure.
Right? Because, and let me just throw this one stat out. One typical cigarette session, 5 to 7 minutes, 8 to 12 puffs, 40 to 75 milliliters of smoke per puff. That's if you do a cigarette. But Hubbly Bubbly, 20 to 80 minutes, it's 20 to 200 puffs, not to a liter of smoke per puff.
sure.
So it's all in the stats. It's
Yeah.
evident
Yeah.
that it's more harmful.
Wow.
And I see that it says it's equivalent to inhaling. So in one session, say for instance, you use 20 to 80 minutes for a session, it's equivalent to inhaling the smoke of 100 or more cigarettes. So that we're talking about inhalation. So Mr. Rowe, we're going to the state of smoking in South Africa. What do you guys think is the state of smoking in South Africa? You know, we would be considered millennials, and then Mr. Rowe would be considered Gen X, and now we've got Gen Z. So for instance, like in varsity and in our social settings, what have you guys been noticing with the trends in smoking?
So what I've been noticing, I think this even started when I left school, when I finished matric. I couldn't believe that literally school kids coming from grade 7 into grade 8, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Grade 8, what do you know in grade 8?
Yeah.
Exactly.
But you're already stopping at the pakkies to buy a cigarette in the morning, to buy a guai.
Yeah.
And then you buy
And that's
chippies
on your way to
and
school.
lotion on your way to school.
Yeah.
Some of them are smoking Zol, which is Dacha weed. And it's like, what the heck, bro? You only in grade 8. Your brain still need to develop. You still need to go through life, learn stuff. And now you're already like putting everything, not that you're putting everything on hold, but you're affecting the way you think,
Yeah.
the way you learn at school. And that already happened like 7, 8 years ago when I finished school. So right now it is, and you just see how they deteriorate. I'm sorry to say this, but you literally see it and you're like, man,
And you know, El, you talking about how many years ago?
7, 8 years
7,
ago.
8, right. When I was in matric, which was literally in the 80s, right? Okay, age being exposed here. But now I was the head boy at my school. in matric.
Hey, come on.
Right, shout out to the Willow Crescent folk.
Hey.
Right.
Pew,
But
pew, pew, pew.
I made it my mission in grade 11 and 12, really to attack smoking, because look, at that stage, smoking was just smoking in the bathrooms. But I was wicked. I made the guys eat their cigarettes, you know, just to make sure
You
that they
were
get
that
out
one.
of
Thank
that.
you that Jesus saved you
Hallelujah.
and changed your heart.
But stats says 7 million people ages 15 and older currently smoke in South Africa.
Sure. 7 million. Wow.
That's 7
That's a
million
lot.
people. And I mean, that's from, you saying, you know, kids, and I see it on the streets. If you drive around in the streets in our community, you see children with their school bag with a cigarette in hand. And like I say, it's one of those things, the culture just seems to be fine, but they don't realize the long-term
I think
implications.
And that's just the thing. I ultimately think you want to be in and you want to get the status because you look cool, you look older, people take you serious if they see you smoking a cigarette. And that was the general idea amongst our peers, even when we were at school. If you were smoking, like, hey,
You cool.
You're cool. We don't want trouble with you because you chilling with bigger guys or whatever the case may be. And that's just the sad reality because it's like you do matric, right? For me personally, I wish I can go back and do matric again because of what I know now.
Yeah.
The same thing with cigarette. You're smoking a cigarette now, you're starting, you're looking cool. But later on in life, 10, 15 years later, you realize that, hey man, this decision that I made back then is a terrible one. And I wish I can go back to change time. So it's just too sad to see what's happening in the community.
And for you, Jess, what do you see, like the trends that you've been noticing?
Nah, yo, youngsters, it's like, it's a norm for them now, basically. Like you see small kids, like Eldrin said, going to the shop, just getting cigarettes. In your head, you'll think, okay, because you know, back in the day, the
It was
parents
for
used
the
to
parents,
send, the
yeah.
kids to go buy and all that. Now you see they're actually opening up there in front of the shop and they're smoking their cigarettes, like in school also. Because I was first in a private school, then I went to a government school. Then when I got to the government school, I'm like, yo, this guy isn't smoking at break. What is going on here?
Yeah.
Not to say in the private school they didn't do
Yeah,
it. They
yeah,
just
yeah.
done it like after school and
Yes.
stuff, and they were of hardcore drugs back then.
Yeah,
but
no.
with them, it's like it's normal just to do it so out in the open during break, and it's like, but do
Yeah.
you not think you long term this
Sure.
thing can affect you like this, like
Exactly.
that, like that? And it's for me it was just weird to see it.
Yeah.
Because obviously you grew up in a household of.
And you know, what I can hear, what you guys are saying, is that it's becoming very hard and tough for youngsters out there to fit in. And they will try their utmost best to do certain things,
Yeah.
be that hookah, vaping, smoking, or even using drugs,
Yeah.
right? And the ultimate thing is to fit into
Yeah.
the current society and culture that is out there. And you know, what I just saying from somebody that's much more older, and the work that we need to do is much harder.
Yeah.
Because I guess the tolerance level from generation to generation gets much less and less.
Yeah. So I just want to get into the comments here. We've got Reverend Saul saying that the goal of tobacco companies is to get kids hooked on smoking early and keep them smoking for life. So when you guys are speaking about the younger the younger people are now, you know, the more prone they are to smoking and stuff like that. That is the actual
Gee whiz.
Motive, basically.
motive.
But
And
remember
it's
now,
working.
And he says also here that message of tobacco companies is deceptive and destructive.
because
And we're
they
going to
try
get
to make it appealing.
exactly, and we're going to get into the rest of the stats, Mr. Rowe, because you've got some stats on this. We know that the legal age now for buying cigarettes is now 18. It used to be 16.
16,
So they did increase the age
The years, yeah.
rate. However, we know also that there's a scourge of illegal tobacco trade in South Africa. So that is also a problem that we're dealing with, which I want to get into. So I'm going to give over to Mr. Rowe now to continue with the presentation and to give us some stats. But I just want to also get in here. Nathan Gertz says when he was in school, he tried smoking just to impress a girl. He says he still never got a number. You see, learn
Sorry,
from
bro.
Nathan. Learn from Nathan.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it, okay?
Like that. Just something small like that. I know of people who started in school and they're still smoking today. And they keep saying, yo, I want to leave this thing. I want to
Yeah.
leave it. But they can't. They struggle so much just to leave cigarettes.
So, Mr. Rowe, what I've been noticing, like for instance, Okay, in my school, I wasn't exposed to people. It's like with Jesse, I went to a private school and a Christian school at that. So there was no smoking like that was going to happen. So I was so gemaak. But the people were smoking at home because I went to my one friend's house and there wasn't cigarettes available, but they make their own cigarettes.
They make a zol.
Not even a zol, like a cigarette kind
They
of
roll
a.
it
They
and-
roll it into
yeah.
that thing. You
buy
know,
the
hey,
tobacco.
Buy the
to my
tobacco
white
stuff,
friends
yeah.
out there, you guys are very you always have something new, eh? So I saw them making it and they were smoking it, and me being me, I want to also must now experiment
Try
and see.
it.
So I tried it
Yeah.
Try it.
I coughed myself like lamb. I thought I was gonna die. Eh? I went to the bathroom and I was repenting. I'm like, Father God, please don't take me
Come
now.
on,
I'm sorry.
Come
I'm
on.
sorry for the sins that I've committed. But that was me. But then when I got to varsity, obviously,
Yeah, no, it's a whole different
student
ball game.
centers.
Yeah.
You just everybody's
Everyone is
smoking.
freedom,
There's
it's
hookah, there's okas
alles.
everywhere. There's cigarettes. People like smoke you badompig, literally, right?
I remember when we went for the
Sheesh.
open day with my son Brandon to Pretoria, going to Hatfield.
Yeah.
And that street where the varsity is in
Yes.
is littered with restaurants and all that.
Yeah.
So walking from Gautrain to the, this was what we were greeted with. Just students and students and students
Yeah.
smoking hookah pipe. And I said, Bre, I don't think this is the right varsity. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Then no varsity is the right
Then no
varsity.
varsity is the right varsity. You
Because
just have to
you
be
find
strong.
it everywhere.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But the thing is, Mr. O, what I wanted to say based on that is that I think that it has a lot to do with the socialism around it. And Jesse was speaking about this. I'll never forget the one time he was saying that the reason why people want to smoke, even like with the hookah, because you see people gather around it, it
Yes.
becomes community. It becomes a social thing.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that I noticed with smoking. I've seen introverts, like complete introverts, use smoking so that when it's at work. I've seen it in the working environment. So they go outside and they all stand on the balcony or the designated smoking area, and that's where they come together and that's where they speak. So that is how they make friends. So people even use it as a means for connection.
Yeah.
So that's the trends that I've
And
been
the
noticing.
conversation starts with, do you have a light?
Exactly. You must know these things.
Come
Like
on.
I remember when I used to like go out with friends and stuff, and a guy wants to now come in, then he'll be like, sorry, do you have a light? I was like, I don't smoke. So you just lost your chance, man.
Yeah, you just lost it right there.
So, Mr. Rowe, we're going to give over to you. We're going to go through some of the stats because we're talking about the state of smoking in South Africa for those of you who just joined us now. So we're going to get into some of the
I
stats
must just
surrounding
say,
that.
I looked at the title of the show last night, and it says "Smoking South Africa"
Yeah.
and "Smoking South Africa."
Yes.
Come
So is South Africa
It's
smoking?
a play
Is
on
it-
the words.
It's a play
what
on the
what
words.
can I say? I'm a words play.
You're so clever. You're so clever.
Someone's good at Scrabble.
But the real thing is that the rate of smoking has actually declined
Yes.
in latest years.
Okay.
Yes.
The last stats that was done was in 2012, and it reduced to 18.12%, even though it's still harmful. Now, one thing that we spoke about earlier is that cigarettes and even all associated products around it is so readily available for everybody. And I guess that is the concern, because even though there's a legal age that a person can get a cigarette, it doesn't help, because
Yeah.
nobody in the stores
No.
is monitoring
Regulates
it
that,
or
no.
regulates it. It's still freely available.
People don't ask for IDs. They
you
only
can-
ask for IDs in the bottle store.
if
Don't ask me how do I know this. I know this.
Those that don't know, you can actually drive to the robot.
Experience coming through.
You know.
You can drive to the robot and you can get it.
Yes, exactly.
So, I mean, and I guess that's the problem that we are sitting with in South Africa, is that regulation
Yes.
is not enforced. There is some sort of bans.
Yeah.
If I can just look at the Tobacco Products Control Act of 1993 remains in effect, right? And the act bans tobacco advertising but there are exemptions.
Yeah.
For example, tobacco products are allowed to be visible at point of sale.
Yes.
Right? So you will still see, if you stand at the till, you will see the tobacco products. But it's the enforcing that's the problem. And nobody, even though on a packet of cigarettes they put there that
The
it's
warning,
harmful,
yeah.
harmful. I mean, how many people reads the
No one
the
reads
warning?
it, and I mean
No.
it's in small text as well. So
Yeah.
so no one really wants to read small
Yeah.
text, and you're like, what are they saying? They just see warning, and then that's
I
it.
mean,
You know,
the
yeah,
warning
we-
goes up in smoke.
Where it says that the act bans advertising of tobacco products. Do you even need to advertise
You
tobacco?
don't. The
Do you
people's
It sells
advertising
itself.
for you.
Exactly. Because if, like, for instance, last week when Carol mentioned, and you also mentioned it to me, Dave Chappelle's situation when he said these big tobacco companies came into the communities and gave young black kids packs of cigarettes. So all that you need to do is you need to expose people to it because it's so addictive. Who's going to do the advertising for you? The user. And obviously, if you creating nicotine neural pathways within the brains of children, of course, you know, it's going to be inevitable that they're going to turn to smoking.
But how do they do it? Remember now, we're saying that advertising or cigarette companies, and the biggest one in South Africa is British Tobacco
Yeah.
Company, right? What they do is now, if you are an artist, right, like Trompies or Casper Nieuwest,
Hey man,
or
Trompies.
Trompies comes with-
Sandybox
with
on
the-
band.
you know, they need like
Giving away
Trompies
my
either.
age.
The trumpets of Pastor Rose time. Real Rose time.
But what they do is they will sponsor a portion of that
Top
video,
TV.
right? And on that video, you'll see the guys do hookah,
Yo.
they do cigarettes, and so obviously it looks appealing.
Cool.
It looks cool. The guys that are watching these videos and
Yeah,
obviously it becomes
I
appealing.
remember last week when Mr. Rose spoke about Jerusalem. I'm just picturing the church, Jerusalem. Can't in the video, it's Jerusalem.
And I mean, what they do is, we spoke about it a little bit last week, but even with cigarettes, it's exactly the same. They produce more flavors, and the flavors has an effect on your throat. It's smoother. That's what menthol does. You spoke about the peppermint, that was
Yeah.
nice, but that's what menthol does. It makes it more smoother for you to breathe.
Yeah.
It affects your lungs, makes it more open. So you don't realize you're exposing yourself to more toxins, but you feel that, oh no, this makes me feel fine, right? And that's where the addictive problem comes from.
And the like, for instance, the menthol cigarettes, are they fairly new, if I'm not mistaken?
No, they've been here forever.
For years, is
Yeah.
it? But I mean, like, because there's other flavors as well?
Yeah,
Okay,
they
so
just
that is
increase
now.
the flavoring.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess that because of, maybe they've been seeing the decline in the sales because of these regulations, so they felt like, okay, we need to up our game, so they introduced the flavors. That's my thinking. I could be wrong in that, but I think that
the way they were so done, it is I think it's a switch or something.
yes,
Where you actually, it's a normal, but when you like break the pop it the cigarette, and the flavor comes through.
Yeah, I've seen those ones. I've seen them. So also, Mr. Rowe, in your presentation, you speak about health warnings, and what Eldrin was saying here about the where the warning thingies and
on the text.
on the package.
Yes.
And it says here that legislation requires that 15% of the front of the package have the warnings displayed, and 25% of the
On the
back
back,
must
yeah.
display the health warnings. And then we also have tobacco tax rates in South Africa, which could also be a regulation. It says here that total taxes on cigarettes, including excise on sales taxes in South Africa, make up 52% of the retail price.
Yeah.
I
Which is a
think.
big thing.
Okay, I'm just trying to fathom this.
Yeah,
This thing costs you so much money. Cigarettes is expensive.
it is expensive.
It is harmful to your body. You are paying so much money for something that is harmful. Why choose to do it? Even
Yeah.
during the pandemic, when we went on lockdown, do you know how much people paid for a pack of cigarettes?
The
Jess
people
and I were
stocked
speaking
up
about
on
that this
cigarettes.
morning.
They were doing the illegal
Not only
trade,
that, the illegal
whatever.
trade, that they like triple prices.
Definitely.
120 rand for a 20.
Yeah. And we want to get to that, Mr. Rowe, the illegal trade in South Africa, which we spoke about earlier. On that note, because like Elton was saying, that there was lots, you go to the buy and there's cigarettes there. Where
They
Jesse was
ask
saying
you,
this morning.
where you from? First thing.
yeah.
And then they see that you're from the area, then they'll sell it
Yes,
to you.
yeah.
It was crazy.
Wow.
Imagine paying 120. I
Underground
still cannot
citizen.
believe it. Give me that 120 and I'll put petrol in my car. Or I'll buy for me lunch for the week or something like that. Give me that
Chili
120.
cheese.
But what
yeah,
drives
no,
it,
chili
remember
cheese.
now, is the addictive. Somebody might say,
Yeah.
yes,
The
I don't
demand.
use
Yes.
drugs, but I smoke a cigarette.
Exactly.
And, you know, they are willing to and prepared to pay for that. And I mean, to a certain extent, the good thing that lockdown did was it was addressing a lot of people that had certain addictions, because now you couldn't get to your cigarettes, most probably not as much as you used to do in the past. But then
Yeah.
it just opens up a can of worms for the rest of the illegal traders
Definitely.
to make it available.
So before we continue, Mr. Rowe's going to go into the other stats for us, but we're going to get into the comments quickly. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I think it's Lejean. Lockett is saying that I love the conversation, very informative topic. Thank you so much to you. And then again, Reverend Saul says that tobacco companies always look for new ways to introduce new products.
They are
And I guess
innovative.
that is retail. You know what I'm saying? Advertising, you constantly need to up your game. And so for me with the vaping and the e-cig and all those things, is that competition for the tobacco companies, or does it fall under one umbrella?
I think it falls under one umbrella,
Okay.
because still it's tobacco,
Yes.
and tobacco, but
same
it's just how they innovated
Yeah.
their products
Yes.
in order to make it more available. Remember now, the guy that's vaping or the guy that's using the hookah is under the impression that this is more healthier than a
Yes.
cigarette.
Yes.
To get away from the stigma attached to a cigarette, because a cigarette is seen as
That's good.
it's
Unhealthy.
It's,
That's
it's
super good.
unhealthy, right? But now that I'm vaping, or however, it's much more detrimental.
and that is what that's the general consensus amongst the peers and the youth, and they're saying, I don't smoke hookah, or I don't smoke a cigarette, I vape. Because they think that vaping is healthier. You know, there's no effect or whatever the case may be, and it produces much more smoke, so you can do that where you make
All
a
the
lot of
time.
circles and stuff
but
like
but
that.
there's another aspect to it. There's first-hand smoke, which is the people that smoke the cigarette or
Yes.
the hookah. But then there's also second-hand smoke, right? Which is just as detrimental, right? I saw a beautiful. I sent the video.
We've got the video if you want us to play
Yes,
it.
we can play that video.
Okay.
and-
So we're going to play it while Mr. Rowe will be speaking about it.
Yeah.
So are you
The-
playing it? Okay, we're playing it.
The video basically shows a mother sitting with a child and smoking, right? And she's smoking the cigarette, but the one that's blowing out the actually the smoke is the baby, the
the baby.
child, right?
Yeah.
So this is just some stats on second-hand smoking that I just want to talk about, because people don't realize how detrimental second-hand smoking is. It's a combination of the smoke from the burning end of the cigarette and the smoke breathed out by the smoker. So, and it contains 7,000 chemicals,
Sure.
of which hundreds are toxic and about 70 contributes to cancer.
Sheesh.
And that's the reality. You know what? When we talk about COVID-19, and I'm going to use that as a comparison, people don't want to come around. They wear a mask when they are in the vicinity of people, because they are aware of the fact that there's a possibility that they might get infected with COVID-19. But you don't realize that when you get in contact with somebody that's a smoker, or standing around somebody that's smoking the hookah, you are exposing yourself to basically respiratory diseases,
Yes.
lung diseases, because of that 70 toxins that can cause cancer, or the 7,000 that are actually toxic to your health.
Yeah. So you were saying, yeah, that breathing in the smoke can cause cancer. And it says here that secondhand smoking cause other health problems too, which includes heart disease. So a lot of people suffer from heart disease. So it might not be, you think it's not as extreme, but it's actually quite dangerous because it's underlying issues that people don't necessarily pick up until later in their lives. And many a times, and this is secondhand smoking, we're not talking about first-hand smoking. So for me, I always had this notion, and it's not just because I'm not a smoker, because everything that I do, I try to think of the person, another person.
Yeah.
And for me, secondhand smoking becomes selfish. I mean, smoking becomes selfish in a way, especially people that smoke in public areas or in closed areas, for instance, because like you were saying, think about it, 7,000 of these harmful toxins and 70% of them that can 70 of them that can cause cancer. And there's other people around you that didn't ask for it, and you wondering, well, why am I suffering from heart disease? Why did somebody get a stroke? They're suffering from their breathing. They're not smokers, but they are surrounded by smokers.
Yeah.
So for me, it also becomes a selfish thing at the end of the day.
Exactly.
And a non-smoker sitting in a smoke-filled room for 8 hours will breathe as many cancer-causing chemicals as if he or she had smoked 36 cigarettes themselves. And that's why that video that you showed us was so potent and so important. A mother smoking in front of a child who's actually breathing in that smoke.
Exactly.
Because at least when you're smoking, you smoke and you exhale. But there's somebody that's constantly inhaling that smoke. And you were also saying, Mr. Rowe, that smoke from the burning end of a cigarette has more poisons.
Yeah.
This is why it's so detrimental. So the end of the cigarette, a burning cigarette, has more poisons than smoke inhaled by the smoker. So who actually suffers more? It's the person that's not smoking.
That's not smoking.
And it says here, some of these poisons include acetone, which is in paint stripper. Naphthalene
Yes.
in mothballs, butane in lighter fluid, arsenic in ant poison, ammonia in toilet cleaner, phenol in disinfectant, and carbon monoxide in exhaust fumes. This morning when Jess and I were driving to work, we were like, look at this car behind us. And that's where my mind went. I was thinking secondhand smoke is equivalent to smoking in all of these poisons. Aldrin, you wanted to say something.
I was going to come from an experience standpoint. So my great-grandfather was a smoker. My great-grandmother was a smoker. My grandfather's a smoker. My dad is a smoker. Still is a smoker.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I just, from the get-go, when I came to my understanding of what smoking is, cigarettes, I was like, I will never smoke cigarettes.
Yes.
Never, ever will I smoke. I think it just didn't go well with me. The inhaling, the whole second-hand smoking thing.
Yeah.
That was a real thing in my family. And I must take my hat off for my dad, because eventually he started smoking outside. So now when he smokes outside, or he smokes by the window, whatever the case may be. So he no longer smokes within in the house,
Yes.
or when he's driving with us, or whatever the case may be. So I must salute him for that. And I just made that clear decision that, hey, I'm not going to take this into my generation, or take this into my family. You know, I'm breaking that generational pattern there and then.
Yes.
So yeah, man, it's a horrible thing.
We want to say congratulations to you, because it's not an easy thing. I mean, we heard that if you're exposed to it, your chances of becoming a smoker yourself is quite high, but you made that decision. And that's what I wanted to ask. Do you think that, because I've heard, but I do not know if it's correct, but do you think that, just as I said now, if your parents smoke, because Aldrin said his great-grandparents smoked, then his grandparents, then his grandfather, then his father. So do you think being exposed to that environment makes your chances more likely to then become a smoker? Good question, right?
Good question.
I think
Yeah.
yes. I've seen it. I've seen
From
it.
experience,
I've seen
you're
it
speaking.
trickle down through
Generations.
family, through generations, and I've seen it happen, and I was like, nah, with me it stops. With
Yes.
my brothers it stops.
Yes.
And I think ultimately that is just where we want to see the next generation that will be birthed out of us. We like putting a stop to it. We're like,
Exactly.
hey, we stopping the smoking thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
You see, with any addictive drug, be it alcohol, be it smoking, the premise is if generations have been doing it, then it's okay, right? And you don't necessarily. Actually, one of the videos that I also sent to Leandra on the state of smoking in South Africa, there's a lady that actually shares a testimony and saying that my mom was a smoker. And when my mom died, I realized that it was complications of smoking that caused her death, right? I mean, they wouldn't put the stats out there, right? But in reality, people that are, or COVID deaths, right, there's a larger proportion of them that have complications because, breathing complications, because they were smokers, right? And that's why they're more susceptible to a respiratory disease, which was highlighted last week in the show. So we need to put a stop to it somehow, some way. Stand up and make our voice heard so that generations going forward are fully aware of what the implications are.
I just want to say this. Sometimes we look at the decisions that our fathers, our grandfathers, our great-grandfathers made. Sometimes we don't blame them for them smoking or whatever the case may be, because ultimately that is what they were exposed to at a younger age as well. But we do know that moving forward, you still have the choice to make that change. And we know that that decision that you make can only be done with Jesus, with God in your life. To say, hey, this is something that I'm willing to get rid of. I need help. Father, please help me.
Yeah.
So
And this is where the responsibility of faith-based organizations comes to the fore. And organizations like Amplify, that is what they are endeavoring to do, is to encourage faith-based organizations. We preach the gospel of Jesus Christ, that Christ is a healer, that he can heal you from whatever situation you find yourself.
Come on.
He can also set the captive free.
Come on.
That is what we preach, right? But there's an aspect of wellness attached to it that we need to also basically make our voice loud, in the sense that we encourage a healthy lifestyle. And if that means that you stop smoking, stop the hookah, stop vaping, then we must encourage that. Because I always say, and one thing that I, when I advocate and talk to people about it, I say that, or ask people that are smoking, what is your ultimate goal or plan in life? Do you want to see your grandkids? Do you want to see?
Yeah.
If you want to do that and you have a long-term plan, there's certain adjustments that you're going to have to make now in terms of your lifestyle to get
You know,
there.
Pastor Roden, on that, I saw me say Pastor Roden now because you're preaching up in here.
come on.
But Mr. Rowe, you were
preach.
you were speaking about the long-term effects, and we were speaking about secondhand smoking, and children are quite vulnerable to the effects of smoking, because I was reading in your research, Mr. Rowe, you were saying that smoking when your children are around can increase their risk of death, can increase their risk of what they call glue ear, which is the most common form of deafness in children, can increase their risk of respiratory illnesses such as asthma
and
middle
all that.
ear and chest infections. And also when you smoke as a mother, it increases your chance of miscarriages, low birth weight, and stillborn babies. But a lot of the times, this is the argument that people make, and I've heard it before, when they say, yeah, but nothing happened to me, nothing happened to my children. So that is just like a certain percentage of. But for me, it's like, are you willing to take the risk? Because people are like, yeah, but my grandmother has been smoking all her life and she's still alive now at 80. But the grandmother has like illnesses. Like I think of my grandmother, for instance, right? My dad's mom, she was a smoker when she was young, and she was really saved by grace. And she even testified about it when she was still alive. And she would say that the only way that she got rid of it was by giving her life to Christ and through baptism. The day my grandmother got baptized, that morning was the last time she smoked a cigarette, and she was delivered from it. But the health implications later. When she went later in life, she got a stroke, and from there she never recovered. It was so difficult. Her lungs were under so much pressure because of the smoke. So, and I've heard it before, where people have smoked all their lives, they stop smoking, and their bodies have become so dependent on that smoke that they become ill, and that's how they die. So you say, yeah, but nothing's wrong with me now. But like you were saying, do you want to see your grandchildren?
Exactly.
And when you see your grandchildren, do you want to be up and awake and being able to play with them? There's no use sitting on a tank. My grandmother was on a tank for years. An oxygen tank. That was the only way she could stay alive.
Wow.
For years, that was, and until her last day on earth. And I know that would be her message. She would say, please, kids, people, stop smoking while you still can.
Yeah.
Your life is so important.
Yes.
So we've got 10 minutes left. Can you believe it? All right.
Wow.
So
Time flies when you're having
flies,
fun.
hey? It really does. It really does. So we want to get into the solutions, Mr. Rowe. What have you guys been noticing in you from South Africa and globally and stuff like that? What can you tell us about some solutions?
Solution is that, like the show, the Inside Show, create and make our voice much bigger in terms of creating the awareness. Speak to our youth and make sure that they are aware of the health implications. I know in America, legislation gets pushed a lot, and that's what Reverend Sauls highlighted last week. They've got stuff like no menthol Sundays, which they had this past Sunday, where they actually highlight what the effects are of the menthol on your breathing, on your respiratory system. And I think we need to push government to do much more in terms of highlighting. I mean, like we said last week, it is anti-tobacco month. Yes. However, there's no marketing, nothing out there being done about it. So because it's detrimental to the health, not only as smokers, but for the second-hand smokers as well. So I think we need to do much more in terms of wellness programs, get more inside shows on the various effects that certain of these things has on our, and try and get the real life, get onto the street and hear from the people that are exposed to this.
Yes.
What are they experiencing?
Yeah. The thing also for me is, like when we have these conversations, what I've noticed is, and because I obviously check the stats, but what I've noticed is that when we have these kinds of conversations, it's normally the people who are directly involved in it that don't get involved in the conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from a place of feeling condemned, and it's not condemnation.
No.
It's about awareness. That is the
Exactly.
main thing. We don't want to create a negative stigma. What we want to bring to light is that this is the reality. You can't run from reality, whether it offends you or not. You can't run. Reality is reality.
True.
And the fact of the matter is that it has detrimental effects. And this is the reason why these conversations are so important. And you, in your own personal capacity, what you can do from your point of view is, and I'm not a smoker, so I don't know. I cannot speak for somebody else who, like you were saying, Alden, it's not easy to quit.
Yeah.
Like you can just say, quit smoking.
Because it's like a habit.
Exactly.
That's
For
both.
me, like for instance, if I must say, I love coffee. And it's difficult for me to go like through the day, because especially like when I'm fasting, and that is really the time for me to detox. And I need to make that conscious decision and say to myself, look, you might have a problem because you have to drink coffee every single day.
Yeah.
And so I make a conscious decision to gradually take it out of my diet. So for instance, I would substitute it with tea, and this might seem like in comparison, it's such an insignificant example, but it's not an insignificant example because caffeine is also addictive.
It's also
So for instance, if I'm drinking coffee and I say to myself, I can feel it on my body that it's, now I don't think coffee drinking is harmful to my peers.
No, it is
like
not.
like smoking
People
is,
love
for
coffee.
instance.
People love coffee.
But still, it's detrimental to my health, right? And I feel it on my body. So there's times when I have to make a conscious decision and say, Leandra, for the sake of yourself and your offspring, one day you need to take good care of your health.
You know, I'm gonna say this real quick. I think ultimately I went through a season where there was something that I was trying to get rid of. If you want to know what it was,
Go watch that.
let us. Yeah, you can watch the previous show, or you can hit me up. We can have a conversation to know what exactly it is that I was going through and what I wanted to get rid of. But nonetheless, I put myself on a task.
Yes.
And I said, listen, Alden, if this is what you want to get rid of, start with one day.
Yeah.
I stopped one day. Then I fell again. And then I stopped 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. When I hit 7 days, then I knew I was on a roll.
Yeah.
When I hit 7 days of stopping, and then I knew that, okay, now my next 7 days, I need to go for it.
Yes.
And believe me, I went for 2 weeks straight, and then the following week, it was difficult again. And then not too long after that, I was like, I can do this. Went on, tried it again, and I kept going. For 1 month, when I reached that 1 month,
Yes.
man, there was no turning back.
Yeah.
Because then I knew I'm not going to give up all the sacrifice that I
That you've
put in.
made.
Everything that I've just done, I'm not going to give it up. Now, I'm stopping. And believe me, 8 years later, I never went back.
Congratulations to you. On that, sorry, Mr. Ram, I'm going to give you an opportunity now. So my dad always shares his testimony. He was addicted to drugs and at a young age. And he said that he just had to make it didn't take him a detox. He didn't go to a rehab. He decided one day, he had his last, I think it was a weed or something like that in his pocket. And he said that day, he made a decision and he said, I cannot continue like this. I don't have the money to sustain this habit. And it doesn't make me feel good. It makes me do unnecessary things. And he said that he made that decision there that day, I'm going to quit. And he says the power of the mind, don't underestimate the power of the mind. Just as much as you learned the habit, you can unlearn the habit.
That's correct.
And like Eldrin said, the first 7 days, he went for it. The urge came or whatever the case may be. He made the decision every single time. You have to quit. You have to quit. And obviously your body's going to go through detoxification. It's going to feel a certain way. There's going to be withdrawals.
Symptoms, yeah.
But the long term, think long term. I want to appeal to you. Think about the long term effects.
My closing remarks is just that it is possible, and for those watching, that it is definitely possible for you to quit.
Yes.
It is possible. And there are definitely support structures available. If you can just type in state of smoking in South Africa, you'll get to a website where they will help you and assist you in terms of taking certain measures in order to quit. It's possible. And there is support structures. And I know, we are doing all this for a better South Africa.
That's right.
A stronger South Africa.
Yes.
And looking ahead, for generations to come, we can make it better and positive if we just stop right now.
Awesome. Jess, closing remarks from you.
For me, if you are a smoker, sit down with yourself.
That's true.
Say to self.
Yeah, say to self, what is it that I want to accomplish in the next few coming years, and what is it that I eventually want to get out of my life? And then look at it and say, me smoking this amount of cigarettes every day and continuing the way that I am, will it help me to get to my goal, or will it basically take longer to get to the goal? Because firstly, I'm using money now for cigarettes. Secondly, I might not even see the goal because of cancer and because of this
Heart
disease, that disease.
Respiratory
Yeah,
diseases.
so sit down with yourself and have a lengthy discussion with yourself and find out, is this actually what I want to accomplish in my life?
Yeah.
And then also with Reverend Sauls, when he said that the way that they're starting to come up with new ideas and stuff. The big thing now in the footballing world, and it's been around for a while, is the snooze. I don't know if you know of snooze.
Yes.
No.
It's
Yes.
basically tobacco in
Teach
like
us,
in a tea bag. So they put tobacco in like a tea bag type of
And
a
it
thing,
gives you a high.
and you put it under your like your gum,
lip,
basically
under the top lip.
lip, yeah. And it relaxes you. It gives you like a high and everything. It's for footballers use it a lot because to calm them before a football game and all that. And it's just amazing to see how the lengths that they go to actually push their narrative and
Gee,
these type of things. So yeah, if you're a smoker, sit down, speak to yourself and find out, is this what I want in life?
I just did some calculations quickly, and this is just going based on this my own thinking around this. So it says here that the average price of a cigarette, but this was in 2019. The price has obviously increased by now. So the average price of a cigarette is 31 rand per 20 pack. We know that it's more.
No, definitely
it's
more.
way more now. So I just did some calculations. Let's say, how many times do you think you smoke a day?
Some people can smoke
I can
at
actually
20
answer
a
that.
day.
People smoke 3,771 cigarettes a
day,
year.
A year.
A
Okay.
year.
3,771.
71.
Let's say divide by 20, because you get 20 cigarettes in a pack. So that would be 188 packs a year. 188 packs a year. So let's say 188 packs a year times 31 rand, which was then, that's 5,845 rand a year that you're paying.
So I can get these guys talking because I can say, what can you
I
do?
was going to say now,
What
because
can
when
you do
Jess
with
was talking
5,000
about
rand?
that, I was saying,
investment.
what can you do with that?
I think it's way more actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Because
that's
remember,
definitely. That's
Lisa's are going off the pricing from
2019
From
stat.
2019.
Yeah, no, it's way more. And people like smoke a 20 in one day.
Exactly.
And they buy a 20 almost 7 times a day.
And when you in social gatherings, that's even more. I've seen people go through. Yes, you're
And when
like,
people stress, I've seen when people stress, it's like a stress reliever for
Yes.
them. They just go out and smoke.
Now I
they
need
come
my
back
guy.
and they go out, they smoke.
Yeah.
It's like, didn't you just smoke now?
So, guys, we've reached the end of today's show. We want to say thank you to everyone who was involved. We had Reverend Calvin Sauls, who was also he was the 5th person on the panel here this morning. So we want to say thank you to you. He also just gave us some scripture references, and really the Bible helps. Like if you constantly soak yourself, you will start creating new pathways in the brain just by that, meditating on the word. You will notice, because isn't it like when you catching on nonsense, there's no way you're gonna catch on nonsense if the Bible keeps coming up in your face. So for
There's
instance,
snooze. Oh, sorry.
there's the
Yeah.
snooze.
That's how it looks, yeah.
Okay.
That's it.
That's new.
And then you put it under the lip like that.
Oh, guys.
Sorry for breaking your word there.
So Reverend Sauls gave some scripture references which you can also reference when you are feeling the urge. It says 1 Corinthians 6 verse 19 to 20 says, do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? Another one is 3 John 2. It says, dear friends, and this is our prayer for you guys, I pray that you may enjoy good health and that all may go well with you, even as your soul is getting along well. 3 John 4 says, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children are walking in the truth. Also, he says we must show compassion and not condemnation, 100% true. And he says another solution is always to speak the truth. Mm-hmm. Remember, your health is your wealth. Wow, wow. That is so true. No use.
I like that
we were
tweet.
talking about it the other day. We were like, there's no use making so much money and you can't enjoy your money.
Yeah.
True.
Because that is true wealth. There's many people who don't have health and they have the money, but it means nothing to them. Well, and then, we will get to that other question. Thank you so much for everybody who watched. Thank you to my my co-host, my anchor,
Awesome.
die
It was an
anker van
awesome
my
show.
siel, sal ek in gees en waarheid dien. Oh, come on now, let us
Yes,
worship.
getrouwd.
Ja, nee, okay.
Wie is getrouwd?
Wie is getrouwd? Huh? Okay, Eldrin, giving some hints out there. We see you. Thank you so much, everybody. We love you so much. Have a blessed week further. And we hope that for those of you who are struggling, that you will find relief and that you will be set free. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Bye.
Bye.